What's this? Crowdfunding countdown is back? No, it's not. But we've got something better. We're going to take a look at a 2023 retrospective. So over the course of 2023, I looked at hundreds of campaigns. As I scroll through here, you can see all of the campaigns listed in this Crowdfunding Countdown master list. We started at 988, well actually, 979, and we finished at 1694, giving us 715 campaigns that we covered. Some of these are double campaigns, as we'll see. So out of these 715 campaigns, 715 rulebooks read. Oh man, that's a lot. Well, not approximately, right? There are some funny ones that I checked out. Some didn't have rulebooks. Some had more than one. We're gonna average it out. We're gonna say 715. Out of these, I have picked the cream of the crop, the best of the best. And how I did this was very methodical. I just scrolled through and saw which ones I could remember and which ones stuck out as being memorable. Now, I backed a few of these, and I'll tell you which ones I ended up backing. And I was going to rank them, but it was a lot easier to rank the ones last year that I did this. Maybe I'm going to go through chronologically so we can remember through the past year. There might be a little bit of recency bias because I remember a little bit more details about the ones that are closer to the end of the year rather than the ones that are further up in the year. And I think that is a relevant stat, a relevant statistic, that if I remember things and specific things about games that happened earlier on in the year, I think those games should be regarded as such. So rather than doing sort of a pan-applicable ranking and not being able to talk about that sort of memory aspect that happens, I'm going to do it in chronological order. And so that also allows me to have like 38 campaigns and to not worry about ranking expansions and ranking base game and ranking games that I have gotten but haven't yet gotten a chance to play, because there are a couple of those on this list as well. But we'll just go through and we'll talk about why I found them memorable and why I wanted to revisit them this time. And there very well could be things that I missed. I almost missed Kavango, which my buddy Colin backed, and thankfully, because I'd missed it going through all the campaigns, and he had said, hey, why don't you check this one out? It's really good. Thankfully, I remembered about it because I want to talk about it. Anyway, there might be some that I missed on the basis of it's hard scrolling through 715 and trying to pick out the best of the best, but this feels pretty comprehensive. This also feels, I did this last year as well, and it feels like this one was a little bit harder, especially in that first half of the year. And so I might get rid of some of these 38 as we go on and say, no, I didn't really want to pick that. I just felt like I wouldn't have a video because I wasn't picking a lot of stuff. It really picked up around July is when I found the interesting campaigns started happening. And it's also worth noting before we start that these are 38 campaigns that I could presumably be interested in, and that is too many. That's too many to back, right? That is way too many new acquisitions for me to get. If I backed all of these, that would make over a fifth of my collection currently, a collection that I've had for 10 plus years. And so putting into those perspectives as well, not just because I'm mentioning something doesn't mean I want to back it, but there are a couple where I remember and I'm thinking, oh yeah, I would be really interested in checking out those games, especially in retrospect, or waiting for them to deliver. So let's get started. So here we go. Starting off with number one, this was my 1000th campaign, and I might have fudged the numbers a little bit in order to make this my 1000th campaign. We got a visitor. Yes, we got a visitor. We match, Artie. We're wearing the same shirt. We got a little visitor. Huh? And say goodbye, because you can't see him anymore. All right. But this is essentially Among Us, the board game. It has been delivered. I backed this. I purchased this with my own money. It has been delivered. But yeah, this is basically Among Us. We're going to updates. This is basically Among Us, the board game. It's called Among Cultists, and really it should be called Among Copyright Issues. And this looks great. This does look good. This is one of those games where I backed it to celebrate the 1000th campaign that I covered. And like I said, I did kind of judge the numbers a little bit because I thought this looked cool. And I'm glad that I have it. I almost got it to table the other night. We had 6 people, and I was reading through the rules in preparation of potentially teaching it. I haven't read through all of the rules again, like the solidified rules, right? But I have brushed up on it. You have this room location. And what I really like, I think this is the best board game adaptation of Among Us that could exist out there. I think it's going to be really solid. Basically, anytime you walk by someone, you pass them a card. And you pass them an alive card if you're a nice non-imposter. But if you're a cultist, then you can pass them a dead card, and then at a certain point they'll reveal their cards and be like, oh no, at some point in time I die. We don't know when, but at some point in time I was murdered. And so that's an interesting back and forth, because if you're the only cultist and you're like, yeah, okay, I'm going to kill that person, and they're the only person who interacted with you, well, that's pretty sus. I'm really excited to get this to the table. Plays 4 to 8. At 7 to 8 people, you could have 2 cultists, and then 4 to 6, you have 1 cultist in here. I don't know. I'm interested to see how it plays with various player counts, and that obviously gets a mention because I backed it, and I don't regret that back. Even though, like, I probably wouldn't have backed it if it wasn't number 1000. I kind of like that I was pushed into it, and I like social deduction as a genre, so I'm very hopeful reading through that it'll be pretty good. Yeah. Really nice quality game. Moving along, number 2. Next, we have Epic Spell Wars of the Battle Wizards Annihilageddon 3. I don't think there's going to be anything specifically great about Annihilageddon 3, and I thought this was the worst way to get it. But I do want to shout out Epic Spell Wars Annihilageddon. Like, I played Epic Spell Wars, the base Battle Wizard games, like early on in my board gaming knowledge, and I thought it was fun, quirky, right? Just shouting spells at each other, but there's really no strategy. This is by Cryptozoic, and it takes everything that was bad about the DC deck builder and it fixed. I love this system so much more than the DC deck builder system. It feels the right level of randomness, and even if they have just like dumb art that I don't get on board with, the theme, it's fine. But the actual gameplay of it is pretty fun in the first 2. So really, I'm just using this as an opportunity to talk about the first 2, but I saw it and I was surprised at the enjoyment of the first couple of the Epic Spell Wars, and I think this deck building will just give you more of the same goodness. Next up, this one was a little one called Pride and Preju-dice. And I was surprised that I remembered this one. This one, again, was way back in February 21st. So still beginning of the year, but you were just trying to earn suitors in Pride and Preju-dice. It was a small little print and play. It's my favorite print and play out of all the print and plays that I've looked at, well, this year, I believe. And yeah, I just thought it looked cute. I thought it looked like a great theme, and I remember being really charmed by this print and play. So if you like print and plays, like this is my shout out. Moving along to this one, I could almost cut this one, but I'm not. I just want to talk about Sale in particular. So BoardGameTables.com, sorry, Allplay, they always put out these sort of 4-pack Kickstarters, and I'm shouting out Sale because when we were at PAX, Yuval and I, Yuval picked up Sale. He played this as a cooperative trick taker. I remember thinking it looked kind of cool. I'd have to go back and see if it was my favorite back then. I might have been higher on Mindspace. I remember being let down by Couture. But Sale, I remember thinking looked cool, and it was cool enough for Yuval to purchase it after playing a demo at PAX. And so I wanted to do that as a shout out. Sale is like a 2-player trick-taking game. You're playing cards and you're trying to match up symbols so that you can move along this board and run away from the crack. I remember thinking it looked really neat as you kind of do this voyage forward, and I like trick-taking games. So that's my shout out there. Next up, we've got Huang. Huang by Reiner Knizia. This is, I mean, it's basically Yellow and Yangtze or Tigris and Euphrates. I think it's a reprint of Yellow and Yangtze, which has sort of 6-sided pieces, whereas Tigris and Euphrates has 4-sided pieces. That's the gist of it. It's a hex-based board instead of a square board, and Tigris and Euphrates is phenomenal. I feel like there's going to be a new Tigris and Euphrates coming out at some point. I don't know who's doing it. This isn't any insider information, but I know Reiner Knizia, when I did a little designer interview series for the World Series of Board Gaming, which I'm involved in. If you haven't gotten your tickets yet, you should. You missed the early bird, but there's another code. It's called I Am In, and you get $50 off your ticket instead of $100. And speaking of codes, if you're going to level up, if you're interested in going to level up in New Jersey first weekend of February, well, use my code Chris2024 to get $10 off. So it's not 50, but it's something. And I want to win that. Anyway, and we're getting sidetracked. I wasn't even intending to talk about that this one. I've got another video planned called the top games to play at conventions, which I think is going to be fun. That'll be coming up, and then I'll talk about that more there. It doesn't matter. When I was doing the designer series interview with Reiner Knizia, he mentioned that the license for Tigris and Euphrates was up, or it was up for grabs or something like that. So I think it's just a matter of time before a publisher just decides, yeah, we want to print Tigris and Euphrates again. We want to make it into a nice, beautiful edition. I have the Fantasy Flight Games edition, and I really like that. It's such a surprise from FFG that they would do that. It's something that it's a great copy, and not something that I would upgrade. But yeah. Anyway, this looks good because Tigris and Euphrates is out of print. I think Yellowing Yanks is out of print. You know, it could be a decent chance to get it. I thought the shipping was too much, and you'll probably see this in retail, but because it's such a prolific designer. However, we don't see all 700 of Knizia's designs out there. So, and it's by Phalanx Games, which is kind of surprising for me. So I like Phalanx. I remember Phalanx being one of the first, the number one pick of the week. The first time we did this, I think it was a Phalanx Games, which I forget the title of, but remember the visuals. I think it looked good. Anyway, so that's Huang. It was notable to me because Reiner Knizia is notable, and Tigris and Euphrates is a friggin' blast. This one I wasn't sure if it warrants being on here, but we're here now, so congratulations, you made it. This is a game called From the Moon. I don't know. I think I'm getting it kind of conflated with Ceres, which I don't think was this year. I think it was on last year's list. But the whole conceit of this one is you have different workers, and you can put those workers in a clump on your spaceship. So each one of your rovers will do something different. They say it's worker crafting, right? Each rovers can be customized. And basically it's like a card crafting, worker crafting. That's the sort of gimmick of this game. And so I think that concept looks cool enough to warrant staying in here. This would have been, if we're ranking things, honestly, this is low on the list. Like, it barely makes it. But it makes it. It's, memorable enough to be clicked on. Yeah, Ceres was in 2022 for sure. End of 2022, so there's that, but still in 2022. This list is attached to every single one of my videos, FYI. If you ever wanted to know anything about any game or just get to it, it's there. So that's From the Moon. Here's one that I like. I like it a lot. I actually have 2 copies of it now in my house because I never got rid of the prototype. The prototype was just perfectly fine. And I might keep the prototype and give the other one away to someone. But this is Reviving Kathmandu. This is by Lemery Games. They brought you Pablo. You know Pablo.
Hey there, wise guy.
Yeah.
That's me.
Okay, but we got to keep this video moving, Pablo. I'm sorry.
What?
I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry. We got to keep it moving.
I like Lemery Games and we're
well,
talking
it can't
about
all be about Reviving Kathmandu, can it?
Oh, you bet it can, wise guy.
Okay, true. That's fair. It could be. It could be, and it should be.
It should
We're both on the same page here.
Yeah, we better be on the same page or else you're going to get whacked more than
I honestly, I can't come up with a reason right now, but other than we have to move on.
Why do you think we got to move on, eh? I'm coming, Mama. We'll
Saved by the Bell on that one.
Settle this later.
Yeah, Reviving Kathmandu is great. Like, if you were interested in The Witcher or Paths of Destiny, well, this is the better version of that. You're bidding on cards. Wow. Just like Witcher, you're bidding on cards. Except here, you can actually have some competition for those cards. Yeah, I know. Wild. And then you're building these little towers and structures that will get you points. They're all sets, so if you complete a building, you get more points than if you don't. But what I really like is that you put your bidding coins face down, and then you reveal them all. So you're like, listen, I'm bidding a 5. I'm getting both of these 2 cards here. You should go fight over something else. And really, you could bid a 2 and try to like outbid people. The value of the coins actually makes a very significant difference, because whatever coin you save, you have sort of 4 rounds. And you have 5 coins. So whatever coin you save, you can use that to either take a card from the discard pile, or you can use that to just get straight points. And so if you save your highest value coin, you get a bunch of points, you get 5 points, but you lose that flexibility and that bidding power. And so it's a really, really nice back and forth, really great production design as well. Fits into a really small box. I'll go grab it actually so you can see right here. See, just tiny, little suitcase size, right? It's good. Nobody saw that. But yeah, it comes with a neoprene mat in here, and even Artie likes it. Artie loves it. He wants to mark it as his own. Reviving Catman Artie. That's our number, whatever it is. Again, it's not ranked in numbers, but yeah, I was surprised by how much I enjoyed this one, for sure. Really, really, really surprised. Delightfully surprised. Enjoyed it significantly more than Chili Mafia. Don't tell Pablo. Don't tell him. Next up, we've got D.E.I. Divide et Impera. I don't know a lot about this game. I mean, I read through the rules, right? And so I know the area control nature of it. I know that there's a 3-level board. There's tiers on how much you can. What are you doing? Okay, you can't sit on the computer, buddy. But I know Alex loves it, and I haven't played it yet, and I want to play it with him. But I love different factions. I love area control. And I thought this looked really, really quite neat. I like that sort of cold, bleak theme as well. So yeah, just really like the vibe of this. I feel the hype, and it kind of feels like Alex and I have close to some crossover in terms of enjoyment from what I've played with him. So I feel like there might be some, I feel like there's something here. I really like how things sort of spawn. You know, and it doesn't feel like a typical worker place area control. It feels like things are constantly just spouting out, and it feels very tactical. So yeah, definitely want to give this a try at some point in time. Next up, we've got Galactic Renaissance. I like this comment. Does this project still exist, or did we lose our money here too? Apparently there was some drama happening. I think if we look down, the closure of Pig from Hell games, Devil Pig games, they're run by the same people. Yeah, I feel like Madagascar is run by like a lot of the same people. There's like a lot of conglomerates in the board gaming industry, and people just kind of keep their brands different because their brands sort of stand for different style of games, but there's a lot of like little offshoots. And there's a lot that just work together as well. I know like Indie Board and Cards and Stronghold games, like they've merged officially, but they've retained their own sort of structures from a business perspective. So I think if one went under, the other might still be able to support itself. I do like this. I don't remember seeing this Hitchhiker price-friendly version though. I just remember it being like 75. I don't remember this being 42. Maybe that's the retail. It's probably just the retail version that they're offering, in which case I can still wait for it. Yeah, I don't know if this one should be on the list or not. I like the idea of being able to force people out of planets. I think by the designer of Inish, like, holds a lot of weight for me, and I think that's what I'm still remembering, is that I'm like, I like Inish, I like this one. And I don't know if that's necessarily the correct thing, right? There were a couple things about forcing people onto the planets with using specific symbols that I didn't, like, it didn't really grab me. Yeah, right here, each planet has 3 portal spaces where you can move between the different planets as well. Right, and so there's this whole network of stuff that happens. And I like that the planet spaces are limited. I don't know, I don't think this should be on here, but we've talked about it, so there you go. It's not like top of the list, it's bottom of the list here. What's also bottom of the list would be Deep Dive, but Point City, super high. Point Salad is a fantastic game. Point City looks to be equally fantastic. You have the same thing. You have resources, or you have like cities, purchasing cities and buildings. Splendor meets Point Salad. Like, what more do you need? I think that looks really good and undoubtedly will be very good. Deep Dive really didn't grab me though. I gotta admit, I thought it looked pretty uninteresting as a push your luck set collection game. You're just trying to go lower and lower and lower, and you don't want to get sharks. But maybe if I played it, like I would still play it. But I imagine I would be like, it's fine. The Thinning Veil. This one again. This came up twice. I covered it twice. I looked at it twice. I don't know why this didn't fund. Well, I guess £120, right? That's why it didn't fund it, because it was too expensive. But there was just like a crap load of stuff in here for this big old dungeon crawler, and I'm just so surprised that it never got anywhere. Like, yeah, and I thought this sort of like point allocation action point system looked interesting as well. No idea why it didn't fund, but I guess just because it's too expensive. But I just I remember it. I remember it, and still am surprised that it never happened. 2,000 comments, 2,600 comments. Yeah, a bit of you can feel the disappointment in this sort of comment and response. You can feel the sort of, everyone's doing it and we're not feeling, but I don't It's probably because they didn't get prototypes out, to be honest. That's probably the reason. Because people didn't get to see this big old game and aren't going to spend 120 pounds plus shipping, which is like $300 Canadian probably, on a game that they know nothing about. But I thought it looked cool. So for what that's worth, when it comes around a third time, we'll see if it funds or not. I don't know if it's worth it or not, to be fair. Like, that's a lot of money to drop. But again, thought it looked pretty cool. Or neat. Well, one that would be top of the list if I was ranking this would be Nova Roma by Half a Kingdom Games. One of my patrons sponsored a giveaway for Nova Roma just because they thought it looked cool. That's right, my patrons are the best out there. They love just giving into the hobby and supporting the hobby and just talking about the hobby and just living in this space, and they're all awesome, and I love you all so much. And Nova Roma is an example of that, but also it looks like a pretty cool game. It's by Stan Kordonsky, who did Endless Winter, so that should perk your little ears up. But I also remembered this looking pretty slick. Like, this feels of the same quality as Resurgence, as Endless Winter. You're going to have this grid, this cross-section of things that you can do, and you're going to put your token and take those actions. So you see how all of those actions are sort of laid out differently. And I thought that looked really, really cool. You can sit on my lap, but not on the table. That's what I tell all my patrons. You can sit on my lap, but not on the table while we're playing games, okay? Yeah, this would be top of the charts for me. I think it looks really good. I think Endless Winter was very well crafted. I think this looks equally so. Art by the Micho is always fun for me. Like, they're great artists. And just seems like fun moving action management. Collecting stuff and doing a bunch of mini games. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Trajan, gives me little Trajan vibes in terms of the mini games that are happening, but without the annoying, awful rondelle. So yeah, Nova Roma would be top of the list, I think, for games that were memorable of the last year. I guess I should have mentioned at the beginning that none of these broke $1 million on Kickstarter or GameFound or wherever. Oh yeah, you know what? I didn't even look. Oh no, I was scrolling through my list. I was like, did I miss anything at BackerKit? Of course I didn't, because nothing's ever over there. But nothing crossed that $1 million bar. If you want to see where the ranking of those games, I ranked all the games that crossed $1 million. If you missed them, those are the last 2 videos on the channel. Just go to Room and Board. You click down there, and you click on videos, and you can see them. Or they're in the 5 reasons you shouldn't back playlist as. So I deliberately omitted those because I already talked about them, and I want to talk about different things. So let's go. Yeah, Nova Roma just looks really solid. And I hope that whoever won the giveaway is enjoying it, and that it got to your door. I hope that too. I haven't been keeping track. I haven't been watching the updates, so I hope so. If not, get at me. Moving along, we got Weirdwood Manor. I did a review for Weirdwood Manor on this one, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. It's a co-op game, really well constructed, and what I liked about this were our own little tracks that you got to move up. The board sort of shifts. This gimmick was what really drew me in at first, and then I realized I don't really care. The board shift, so the room shifts, is essentially sort of a worker placement where you're limited to certain rooms every turn, right? You're limited to certain actions every turn, while also trying to take out the big bad monster. And in order to do an action, though, you have to play a card in front of you in a specific day, right? You spend time during the day, and then you move this little circle track, which shifts the door opening to the next sort of stage while you're trying to fight these monsters as well. And you take the actions on those cards, and you also then get the actions on the room. So it's kind of dual worker placement hand management where you get a bunch of stuff, and you're fighting the big bad trying to win. There's 3 big bads in the main game. I have to say these little scarabs were really nice, but you don't need it. The standard edition would have been just fine. Yeah, if you like co-op games, I'm excited to get this one. I didn't back it, but I think they're sending me a copy because I did a review of it, and I specifically did a review of it because I thought Renee would enjoy it. I was like, this looks like something Renee will enjoy. Please send me a copy. I did a demo of it at Breakout, and then when I was done the demo, I was like, okay, that was fun. By the way, I've got a YouTube channel. Send it my way, and I'll do a preview for you for a copy of the game because I thought the game looks cool. So yeah, I really like the tracks that you get to move up, and they kind of chain together in a roll and write fashion. and I like that the characters all have different powers. That one was pretty fun. This is one that probably shouldn't be on here as well, but I remembered the theme, and I remembered thinking it looked fun. This is Milkman, and come on, now that I say it, of course it should be on here. You take on the role of a local dairy farmer, doing your best to manage the farm and keep the cows happy, and deliver whole skim and chocolate milk. Keep those cows happy and pregnant, so they keep producing milk. That's the way they do it. They're forcibly impregnated. And so you have this little row where you're kind of running back and forth and delivering bottles. And I don't know, I thought it looked cool. I thought the price looked good. And I thought the theme looked unique for this fun little game about milk. That's basically it. That's why I remembered it. I don't remember specifics about the rulebook, but I remembered seeing nothing that really sort of flagged it for me. You're gonna be rolling your dice and you're gonna be delivering milk. What more do you need? Moving along to Astro Knights Eternity. This is just more Astro Knights, but I think it has the expedition mode. That's the thing that I wanted to highlight. Astro Knights is Aeon's End, which if you haven't heard, it's a co-op deck builder where you don't shuffle your deck. Whoa! No, nobody cares about that. Well, nobody who actually plays the game. It doesn't matter. Okay, where were we? Back to Astro Knights. I almost said Aeon's End. Astro Knights Eternity. They give you a few extra characters, a few extra villains. It's all great stuff. I mean, Astro Knights is awesome. The only difference between Astro Knights and Aeon's End is the theme, and also in Astro Knights you have a variable market, and in Aeon's End you have a static market. You choose 9 cards, and that's your market. Live or die, and the more expansions you have, the less they synergize together. And so in Astro Knights, for this new one, you just get new variable markets, and they can all sort of swap. It's a great system. Highly recommend trying out Astro Knights or Aeon's End if you haven't already. Next one that caught my eye that I wanted to talk about. Whoa, it almost made the original. This is a late pledge. Okay, I want to see the original campaign. What did it raise? 874. So it didn't raise the million. I was like, did I miss it? No. This one looked pretty good. I was surprised at how much I was intrigued by this one. It seems like a big group game. But what I really liked about these, now that I'm looking at it now, I'm remembering, are the cards. There's sort of an upgrade system on the cards, if I'm remembering correctly. Oh, and the rulebook right at the top of the page? Baby, give it to me. You get to upgrade your cards with branching choices. I remember the upgrading section being kind of cool, and it looking like a really solid team game. However, I feel like with those sorts of things, they are inherently never going to get to the table because they require a very specific group and a specific team to buy in. But other than that, I think it looks cool as a fun little skirmish game. So that's one that I wanted to, if you like big old skirmish games, check it out. I'm realizing that I have a ton, and so rather than cut this into 2 videos, because I want to do a bunch more, we're just going to keep blazing through it. Otherwise, I'd have to cut the video short right here, and I don't want to do that. Or maybe I do. Maybe I do. Next up, we have Raising Robots. This one might also have been at the very top of my list. Nova Roma, Raising Robots, those are 2 that sort of stood out to me. These are the 2 that are so memorable that I'm getting excited to revisit them. Raising Robots, it's like this sort of engine building system, very sort of Wingspan-esque with these escalating chains of robots that you can get together. Oh, look at that. Wingspan meets Race for the Galaxy. Yeah, there you go. The Race for the Galaxy part coming in where you have 2 to 5 phases to perform. You have a hand of cards. You choose the ones, and then you reveal not only your phases, but the amount of energy that you want to contribute to them, so the efficacy of your actions, basically. Yeah, I thought it looked slick. I thought it looked really neat. $49 for retail. That's pretty good. I mean, I guess after conversion and then shipping, it would have been $100 Canadian, right? I always forget that. 50 US is usually like $100 for me after shipping and conversion. Because at 50 Canadian, I might have gotten this one, really. But when you save 11 and the minimum shipping is 13, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, it's like 95 for me or whatever. But this one looked really cool. This is one that I would absolutely love to try out at some point. So yeah, Raising Robots, pretty cool. The next one that I wanted to highlight is Apex Legends. Apex Legends, the board game, and we're going to see Call of Duty later on as well, which, you know what, I'm just going to drag over here. Call of Duty was later in the year, but I feel like both of these are worth talking about side by side. Apex actually looked pretty decent, though. Dave, who's been on the channel before, my friend Dave, really enjoyed Apex once upon a time. Now we play Fortnite, like good little boys that we are. But I remember looking at this and thinking that the system felt fun, right? Like if you if you happen to want a game like Six Siege, let's say, and you think that maybe for some reason it may never deliver ever, well, you could get yourself one of these two things, Apex or Call of Duty. I remember both of these looking fun. Call of Duty was based a lot more on rolling dice, if I recall correctly. Yeah, it depends where you are, and it feels like a real 1v1 game. Where you are, you're rolling dice in terms of how much like ammo and firepower you're gonna lay into the other player. Apex felt a little bit more tactical, but it's the same sort of 1v1 or team versus team style game where you're navigating over terrain, jumping on the terrain, and both of these I thought felt like they looked cool for what they were. I was very surprised that Call of Duty was such a colossal failure. Really, like, I mean, when you think about it, with the IP of Call of Duty and it only raised $226,000, they were for sure wishing to get a lot more stuff. And I think that's just because of the price. It was because of the price, and I'm not quite sure what else. Yeah, as far as I could tell, like mechanically between the two, I feel both feel like fun representations. If you like that IP, that style of game, and you wanted to get yourself a semi-faithful recreation of it, I think that'd be good. See, this is why I'm going through just based upon timing, because I don't really care about Call of Duty or Apex Legends. I just remember being surprised by them, right? Like, neither of these games are games that, like, if I were to get one of them, I'd probably play it once and I go, yeah, it's good. And then I'd probably never touch it again, right? It's not my particular style of game, so it's not something I'm ever going to be really interested in. But I think both of these were memorable to me in that I was delightfully surprised by what was going on mechanically behind. So that's all I can tell you. Speaking of IPs that I'm surprised and excited about, we've got Assassin's Creed Brotherhood of Venice Apocalypse. I'm not actually excited about this expansion because I don't have it, but I do have the giant base game, the core box, which is super expensive, but I think it looks really cool. I agreed to do a review on it, and I'm going to play through as much as I can over the next few months to get a solid review out on the full campaign. I've committed to doing this. They said, listen, if we send you something, you got to commit to playing up to this point. I was like, I'm going to commit to it. I'm excited to do it, and I think it will hold my attention long enough to do that. And we'll see if I'm right. But I think Assassin's Creed looks good, but just this is my sort of, this review will be coming later on. Next up, we have the AG Expansion Extravaganza. I think I just remember this one being a good deal, and I wanted to highlight it and shout out AEG. You know, I like AEG. I think all these new expansions were a good deal if you had everything. And in particular, the one expansion I did want to talk about is the Tiny Towns expansion. I own Tiny Towns. Renee really loves Tiny Towns. But I thought this Tiny Town expansion in particular looked like it would make it more exciting for me. This is the Architects expansion, where you just get a bunch of new cards, new building cards, give you that additional variability, and you can just upgrade your bits, right? Like, this is the sort of expansion that I love to see because it just shakes up the game, and some random spots as well make it really exciting, because in Tiny Towns, everybody calls a cube on your turn. You say yellow, and everyone's forced to put a yellow into their grid. And so having more variability there, having more ways to screw with your opponents, or having more ways to complete your own things while giving your opponents things that they don't want, that's always something to look forward to. So that's the one I just wanted to talk about and was thinking about. And I think if you have Tiny Towns, I'll probably pick this up at some point, because Renee really enjoys Tiny Towns, and as much as I ask her for it to leave the collection, she says no. No, it's also a good 6-player game too, so and it's great to have those sorts of games. Speaking of things that I backed, I feel like that about the project so far. I didn't back Tiny Towns, but speaking of things that I want to get to the table, I have Hidden Arc. Hidden Arc actually delivered. It delivered at the end of the year. Fulfillment is complete, as you can see, and an upcoming expansion. It ended June 28th, and it delivered at the end of the year. That's how insane this campaign was. I thought this looked really good. I got suckered in for the deluxe when I didn't even want it, but I upsold myself. But this one looks really fun. It looks really simple, solid, from an indie design team. It only raised $8,000. Come on. I'm really looking forward to playing this one and letting you know all how it is, because I just thought it looked really slick. And the main thing that I am excited about are these sort of changing action row. You choose an action row, and you take a token and you put it in the action row, and you're slowly building up your own engine while you take those actions again. That just seems so great. You got some tech tracks that you're going to go up on, and you've got a little board to navigate as you go out and you pilfer from the sea all the sweet little green humphead parrotfish that you can put into your little boat. Yeah, fine. I got this token bag. I got these little bits, and I got those extra characters and extra tokens, and I upsold myself, okay? I did not need to spend this much on this game. Oh, it was such a bad choice. But I'm happy to support a small creator and a small game that I think looks really cool. So I'm going to forget about the price and just enjoy my purchase, and I hope it's good. Next one I want to talk about is Thiefdom. Thiefdom for sure is on the upper echelon of things. Like, obviously everything that I backed would be in the tops, right? Like, so, but I want to still highlight things that would be in the sort of top half, and we can revisit them at the end of the video. Thiefdom is up there for me. We've got Raising Robots, we've got Nova Roma, and we've got Thiefdom out of the stuff that I didn't back. Thiefdom was a great price and seemed like a really neat game. You're running around this town and you're breaking into houses and you're trying to steal the most loot, and there's going to be these guards that are wandering and navigating the board, and you got to slip into a back alleyway and send them another way, and it just seems really nice. You go out, you get your loot, you bring it to some other place while trying to avoid the guards. And the twist, I mean, it obviously makes sense. The players control the guards as to where they will navigate, so you're trying to push the guards one way or the other and give them different marching orders so that they catch the other thieves and you get away scot-free. I thought this said fuggling. Fuggling, smuggling, muggling, and duggling. That's the tagline. Yeah, I thought this looked super great. I was going to get it, but the shipping was just bananas. However, they also had an awesome campaign of, where are you? Jumal Juju, there you are. I mean, it's probably Yuma, but they had this Millennia as well. Millennia looked cool. I think Thiefdom looks better, but if you got both, you could bundle them together and save on the shipping for both, and I thought that was kind of neat. Just, you know, companies working as hard as they can to save people money, and I think that's awesome. So Thiefdom looked really cool, one that I'm on the lookout for when it gets to retail. This is one that I think this would be in the top half, maybe number 10, let's say, number 10, Crossbows and Catapults, because I think it's just great. I remember as a kid, and I think I told this story when I covered it, I remember as a kid, there's this game Siege, where you had cannons and you had little like crossbows, and so you'd shoot each other across like a little way. I played this so much. It was so good. So much fun to like angle your crossbows and shoot things down and like the goal was to knock all the other players off the building, and you had to put your own players on the buildings and like keep it around. So I just think it's really just a really fun that it's coming back. I know, and as with all of these things, they show you a bunch of stuff that you only get if you spend like hundreds and hundreds of dollars on. Right? It's like the big Lego sets, and then you actually get the Lego, and it's just like a little 4x4 grid, and you're like, oh, that was part of a bigger set. But other than that, I just think this game looks great. I think if you've got kids, I had such a blast as a kid playing this. Some really, really fond memories for me. We're keeping going rapid speed. You can tell when I took a break and then came back, eh? Because my entire pacing has changed. This is another one that my good friend Colin has backed, so therefore I am excited about it. This is Mordred by Come On. It's surprising that it didn't cross over 1 million. Most Come On games are kind of guaranteed to cross 1 million. This didn't, so I guess it'll take 5 years to complete, like Tridvang. 110 for this pledge. It's another Come On area control game with fun sculpts. Like, what more do you really need to know? You should need to know more if you're purchasing it. You have asymmetric factions. You have monsters that are running around, and the whole game it's a very simple rule set, if I'm remembering. All the game takes place on this time wheel, and that's pretty much it. And then the board opens up. You can say, prepare for the unavoidable chaos. The board will open up new areas will be exposed as the game goes on. I mean, this stuff looks great. I like Command stuff. They make great stuff. Let me look at the rule book again to really refresh, because I read through. Yeah, it's a short rule book, right? Like, especially for Command, it's 15 pages and that's it. Right, you can do 3 things on your turn. You can march, you can muster, or you can magic. Marching is moving people around, mustering is moving your chief and adding people to the board, so growing, and then magic is using spells. Very, very simple. You're getting favor for all of your battles and all your maneuvering. I think it seems fun and solid, and it didn't sell as well as everything else. Come on, because, I don't know, people just want to keep that collector mentality and buy the things that they already have rather than try something new. I think that was probably it. But yeah, I thought that looked cool. Oh, I should put that. Yeah, that's not the one I'm thinking of. But I just remembered another one that I'll throw in, because speaking of Colin also backed this as well. I like highlighting what my friends are backing and enjoying. He has received this. It's an 18-card game. Very simple. It's an I cut you choose sort of thing, but one of the cards is face down and one of the cards is face up. And so it's, do you take the face up ability or do you go for what is face down? I think that's awesome. Some people told me Tussie Mussy has the same feeling to it and has the same flow to it as well. So if that sounds exciting to you, then maybe check out Tussie Mussy. But yeah, $20 to get this little tin. I think it came in a little tin. I haven't played this yet with Colin, but I'm looking forward to doing it. And I think it looks great. Colin Mustard, you're getting so much action this episode. Oh, next one. This one would be high. This would be my top 10 as well. This is another Christmas romance movie. I've referenced this to a few people. This also raised small amounts, but that's what happens when you look at everything, is you get to toot your own horn when you find gems that nobody else talks about. And I think this is a gem. I think this is an absolute gem for people who don't like games, because it's just a crap load of dice and some cards. You're just rolling dice and you're trying to match the patterns on these cards. And when you do, you get to move on to the next part of your story. And then you get to write yourself a Hallmark Christmas movie as you go through. I think it was super smart. I also love that this campaign did so well that they're like, hey, we can reduce the cost. So they just reduced the cost for everybody. And they sent an email being like, hey, don't forget, we actually have a reduced cost now. And they sent it out before Christmas. Like, this was a slam dunk. These dice look fun, and that's basically all you're paying for. And of course, these definitely not AI generated Christmas romantic comedy leads. Yeah, and they have a full rulebook on the page. Like, come on. If this wasn't like super light to the extreme, that I really wouldn't get it off the table, or I really contemplated it. I tried to see if Renee was interested. She's like, I don't care about Hallmark movies. I was like, but you love Christmas movies. She's like, nah, the good ones. But I almost got this, but then I realized that when I'm teaching people games, I like to make sure I teach them things that they won't like, that'll push them into the board gaming hobby, whether they like it or not, and not just keep them on the lighter outside and having fun. So I don't know. I thought this looked good. This was definitely pretty high up there for me. Next one is Tycoon India 1981. This one I'm excited about. I'm getting a copy of this. I didn't end up purchasing one for myself, but a patron reached out to me. But a patron of mine reached out to me after he saw my coverage of this game and was like, "Hey, I think this game looks cool, and I personally want you to cover it. So if I buy you a copy, will you cover it?" And I was like, "Yeah, for sure. I want to cover the things that the people who support the channel and support me the most and are just the best want me to cover." So yes, you'll be seeing coverage for this. I'm excited to see this when it arrives. Looked like a pretty chunky economic game, but it felt really satisfying. And there's also these 3 different win conditions, because there's 2 tracks essentially, and if you're the top of one track, then you face off against the person who's the top of the second track. If you're the top of both tracks, you win automatically. If the top of one versus the top of the other, everybody else dies, and then you two have like a battle to the death with a tiebreaker. Basically, if I'm remembering correctly, which I hope I am, because that would be pretty embarrassing if I wasn't. Yeah, I remember this being a kind of a heavier one to get through, like 28 pages and like thick pages. you're gaining dividends, you're bidding for industries. Hey, you can muster in here as well. Shout out to Colonel Mustard. Yeah, see, calculate the total asset value for each player, determine the winner in asset value. Then the total influence, the winner of influence. If both winners are a single player, that player wins. If there's two players, then you go to the favor for only those two people. So it doesn't matter who, if you were the second lowest favor, as long as your opponent has the lowest favor, you will end up winning the game. And so you're managing these three tracks, but you're giving more weight to two of them, let's say. Or maybe not. Maybe you totally abandon favor and just go assets and industry and go for that sort of single win. I think the win condition here is the thing that really got me excited and interested. And I am super, super thrilled and shout out to Prodigy for hooking me up. I appreciate it. I'm quite excited, and I hope it's a good game, and I'm excited to tell people about it and give it a little bit more exposure. So really, Tycoon India 1981 crew, you owe Prodigy a big old thank you, because you don't have to send me a review copy because somebody else is doing it for you. Next up, we have Potions of Azerland. I remember this week also, like the next three are all in the same week. This was the best week. It was like September 26th, and I know that because it was the WSBG week. It was when the World Series of Board Gaming was taking place. This was a really, really good week. There were like 5 or 6 things that I thought were cool. Potions of Azerland also stood out to me. It's by Warp Reality Games, also one of the designers, or the main designer. His name's Gray, and he's the winner, the double ring winner in 2022 of Splendor and Dune Imperium. So he knows his games. He's pretty good at games. That's what made this sort of stand out, but there's also a really fun bidding mechanic of this one. I think they lost money on this as well. I was having like kind of a side conversation with Gray, but I think hopefully late pledges they picked it up. I think they needed like 100K to actually cover the costs because, well, I mean, it's got art by Andrew Bosley. Come on, you buy that art, you better pay for it. So I hope that they picked up a bunch of pledges in late pledges. You might be able to pre-order it as well. It's close enough that with the pre-orders, hopefully they're able to make it and have success as a first title. But the key to this one, what is making me excited about this, is that you get the order priority tiles, which determine like the strength of your action and when it happens, like when you want to go first in that area, because they all do different things. Everybody's competing for doing all of those things. And so if you want to forage and you want to do this and you want to do this, well, somebody else is going to be competing against you for that as well, and might be taking the things that you want. And so I love this bidding system, and that's what is very memorable to me about this one. Otherwise, you're just, making potions, drinking potions, guzzling down your potions and not selling them. You're just like, listen, I'm a magic potion maker, okay? Why am I going to sell them to everybody to give everyone else magic powers? No, I'm going to drink my own magic powers and rule the world. Base game of 49? That's good. Again, that's good for Kickstarter. Like, I think this is going to be a good game. And I'm glad to check in on the final tally as well. Another one that happened that week was Rogue Angels. Rogue Angels also looked pretty cool. It's a 1,000 pages campaign, probably 1,000 page campaign, and 16 heroes and legacies. But the campaign itself, if you look at it, is this sort of comic book style. They also boast their sort of like innovative AI. That was like their marketing push, but their AI just, I don't know, it feels thematic. It feels thematic. They're like, yeah, we're going to chase down the person who's the weakest. Or the AI will fight you like you would fight a bunch of different NPCs, right? But I remember the story feeling neat about this one. I remember enjoying the different techs and tech trees that you could unlock. I remember enjoying that if you bring the right crew with the right skills who can diffuse things effectively, you could have a bonus. It feels like there's a lot of focus on the story. I like that it was just standees and you didn't have to worry about minis and a bajillion dollars spent on it. I mean, it still was expensive, right? Like it was 107. I like that they did a print and play. There's a lot of really nice things happening about this. Yeah, so if you need another campaign game in space, which you don't, but I thought this looked cool. I thought this looked cool and was worth taking a look at. I really liked the campaign booklet, and it being that comic book style felt more fun to work my way through when you have the art to go along. So I'm interested to see how it shakes out, but I think this one people will enjoy. That's my bet. Oh yeah, I mean, like, this has also got to be top. Mythic Mischief Volume 2. Still haven't played Mythic Mischief number 1. I really should. Uh, but I'm a big fan of Ivy Studios. I think they make great stuff. And it was surprising to me that this didn't raise over $1 million. But again, this was again in that week. It was like 4 in the week. 4 that are memorable enough. And I mean, I guess it was beginning of October, right? So it's only 3 months ago. So it's still pretty fresh. But out of 715 campaigns, like 4 or 5 of the most memorable ones were in 1 week. I just think that's wild. Really wild. Mythic Mischief is a head-to-head abstract puzzle game. It says 1 to 4. I mean, again, I haven't played it, but I've heard it's the best at 1v1. Like, you can do a team battle, which, why do you want to do? Nobody wants to do a team battle. Just get your own different factions and have them face off against each other. I really should just pull the trigger and buy this. I know I'm gonna like it. It's just, it's the same thing that I have, the same problem that I have with all Ivy game stuff. It's so expensive. Oh, it's so expensive, and I wish it was just cheaper. If it was like, well, it's expensive after shipping and conversion, right? 60, I guess, isn't that bad. They make really good quality stuff. They add in just so many little deluxifications that, I don't know. But the cool part about this is that, you know what I need to do? I need to download the app. I need to download the app and have that teach me and learn it, because there is a Mythic Mischief app now that you can try out the factions. And I think like every week you get a new faction. So you can pay for all the factions, or you can just do the free to play, which is what I'm probably going to be doing, and try out a faction, then go back next week and try out the next faction and face off against people like that. I think that's what I got to get. But just more factions, more asymmetry in this beautiful crunchy thing. Santorini better watch out, because I know Mythic Mischief will probably overthrow it. I'm very high on Santorini. Oh, this isn't the one that I was thinking of. No, sorry. I was thinking about the other bird one. Perch! Perch is what I was thinking of. Well, my history's forgetting where it was, but the Kickstarter was, but I remember where the rulebook was. Who did this? Inside Up? Yeah, Inside Up Games. Perch was the one that I wanted to talk about. I don't know where Perch is in the year, but that's the one that I meant, not Flock Together. I thought Flock Together was meh. But Perch seems fun in terms of this being a fun little area control game where you're assigning your birds to places, or you're assigning other people's birds to places, and the majority gets the points, the second gets second and third gets third, and that it's not always beneficial to have the most things there. In addition, every location has a little bit of an effect that you get to do. I thought this one looked neat. Yeah, this one almost got cut when I looked at Flock Together. I was like, did I really like this? But I do now, looking through this rule book and remembering. I think this one looks cool. Something else on my shelf that I still have not played. No, it did not raise €1 million. It raised 934, which, should this have been in the other one? Sorry, Beast. Beast should have been in the other one. See, Game Found, this is why. This is why you friggin' suck. Because Beast should have been in the other one, and you didn't give me any way to search this. Beast should have been ranked. Beast would have been my top half, but again, I have Beast. I've had Beast on my shelf since March, and I have yet to play it. Although, really, this past year was not... It was busy. It was very busy. If I wasn't playing things for review purposes, and I had specific obligations, I wasn't playing many other things. I was playing my favorites and reviews, and so something sat on the shelf. But I'm excited to get Beast to the table and to see what it's all about. When I was reading through the rulebook again, prepping for it, I think I'm going to enjoy this less than City of the Great Machine. I think City of the Great Machine will be better than this for me. This doesn't really focus on the hidden movement as much, and it feels like it'll be pretty obvious where people are, but I don't know. Worthwhile. This again, there will be a review on Beast coming out at some point in time, and I'm excited to get it to the table still, so I figured I'd mention it. A memorable campaign was the Night Cage, Shrieking Hollow. No, I'm just kidding. I just had to include it for you all. I had to include it for you all, for this beautiful art, this beautiful spooky package containing nothing but your deepest, darkest nightmares. A waste of time. This is the ninja one that I thought I was clicking on. 99 Dojo stood out to me as well. It's got PVC cards, and you're going up these 3 different tracks, and the person who wins 2 out of 3 of the tracks wins. You're trying to control the red and the blue and the white ninjas, and you can swap them, and you can get points for each. You can also lay down your own in this sort of tug of war battle whenever you play it. And if you surround the other daimyos on the board, you're going to get additional tokens that you can spend on manipulating the tracks. You assign them in the reveal. It seems like a cute little card game, and for £15, the price felt right, and it felt pretty good. Only three more things that I guess kind of backed. I didn't back Kavango, but Colin did. Colin Mustard also backed Kavango. That's why it's getting the shout out, and because Kavango would be in that top 5. That top 5 area, if we're going to go through and give it a top 5, we probably got Kavango. We've probably got Mythic Mischief. We might have Potions of Azerland. We have Nova Roma for sure. We have Reviving Kathmandu. I try to leave out the ones that I already own. Well, why? I like Reviving Kathmandu. It might not make 5 though. Nova Roma. We had Thiefdom, and we had a lot of good ones. Tycoon India 1981. Okay, fine. I've set a top 10. Anyway, Kavango's in the top 5 though. This I think is going to be a really great game. I think it's going to be awesome. You're developing these 3 different habitats. You start with a unique landscape, and it's just a core drafting game. You're going to take an animal and put it into your sanctuary. Some things will help you produce. Other animals will go on your board if you can play them, if you can sustain them in that habitat, right? And then you have a few other things that can be developed as the game goes on, and goals to achieve. I think it looks really slick. Oh yeah, if you're interested, if you're ever interested and you see like a Rules Girl video, if you're not like me and reading the rule books, like always make the Rules Girl your first video to watch. So clear every single time. It was 49. Oh, it was 49 pounds. Yeah, it was a bit expensive, wasn't it? Yeah, it was a bit expensive, but I just think this one's for sure top 5. Yeah, really stoked to try this one out whenever it gets there. What's the plan? When are your surveys are out? Okay. I mean, it funded late, right? October 19? Yeah, October 9. We only have 2 more. These are 2 that I backed as well. This one, I don't know. I probably regret it, to be honest. But Renee got wind of this game, and it was game over from then. This is Charcuterie, the board game. It was a pretty decent price. I got it in a group buy, too. Only $29, right? You're going to be drafting these things and adding them to your charcuterie board, and you're making points for sets. There's also, I don't know if there's a spatial thing, like they can't touch each other. You can see that there's some space between sections, because if they're touching each other, it breaks that section. That's what I remember. Or maybe I just remember wishing for that. I also kind of wish that when you arranged your boards, you couldn't rearrange it. And I think you can, if I remember correctly. But I don't know. It looks pretty fun. It looks light. It looks like a simple I cut you choose drafting game with meats and cheeses. So it looks kind of cute, and it was a good price. So I don't regret it that much. I think it'll be fun. And then finally, the last one of the year, hey, I got to shout it out. Holotype raised 33. Like, people, Holotype's great. I've talked about this so many times, but it's great. And the European expansion just makes everything better. I have a review on this on the channel, also on this main campaign page. Oh, backer good surveys are coming. Better make sure I don't miss that. I backed this. What was that, December 11th? Yeah, okay. Oh no, I already did this. I backed this. I did a review for them, and they probably would have sent me a copy of this for free, but I said, no, do not do that. I want to back it because I like it that much. And I wanted to support the thing, and I wanted to prove to you all that, like, I like it enough to purchase it myself, because I think that's important, right? I think that's a really important bar. I'm at a point where I've got too many games, and I still think it is important as a bar for all of you, for the audience, to know when Cheapy McGee decides to spend his money. Like, I've got the tightest purse strings around. At least that's what all my dates tell me. And even still, I wanted to get this. I thought it was a really good deal. $19 for this expansion. You're getting so much content. It's basically like an all brand new game of Holotype without the dice. It really is, because you get new everything in terms of cards. So many great tweaks. So many gameplay changes that I'm going to continue to play with Holotype. Just a really fun game. 715 campaigns, rename, on to 2024. What will 2024 have in store? I don't know. That's what it is. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Did any of those catch your eye? Were any of those things that you did back throughout? What was your pick of the year on crowdfunding? Out of everything that you backed or wanted to back, which one stood out to you? I'm curious. I'm curious if we link up, if we match. But those are my 38-ish campaigns. Maybe I'll divide this one into two as well. If I did, this is the end of the second part. And thanks for sticking with me for both of them. Bite-sized, manageable content chunks rather than my normal 2-hour videos that I try to cram down your throats. But I appreciate you being here. A decent year. A decent year. The year before might have been better, though, which is surprising to me. I don't know. I just remember feeling more excited doing this last year than I am this year, but there were a few good ones. There were a few good ones, and I couldn't pick my top 5 easily because I felt bad, I guess. No, Nova Roma for sure was up there. Raising Robots for sure was up there. Kavango was for sure up there. Those are 1, 2, 3. Mythic Mischief, that's 4. And then I don't know what 5 is. I don't know what 5 is off the top of my hand. There's a lot tied for 5, but those kind of go up for 4, and that's not including things that I backed or own. Because, well, then that list would be very easy. The things that I did back and own, if we want to do it as a recap, were, here's the recap on that one. Holotype, backed. Charcuterie, backed for Renee. Let's include Colonel Mustard. Colin backed Kavango. This was backed by by Prodigy. Colin backed Pacific Ocean. Looks great. Colin backed Mordred. I backed Hidden Ark and received Hidden Ark. I am going to review Assassin's Creed. I think I have a copy of Weirdwood Manor coming because of that review, and I'm looking forward to it. I didn't get a chance to play with Renee, I don't think. I have a copy of Reviving Kathmandu, but would have backed if I didn't. You've all got Sale, and then I backed Among Cultists. So those are just a little overview for what I have also in my own collection from that selection. But all of those I think had some merit to them, so I'm interested to see what you all say. Okay, that's it. Go away now. My name's Chris George, and you know what? I don't have a catchphrase, but I still have too many games coming, and we just did a reorganization of the shelves, and there's no room, so who knows what'll happen. Games are fun, aren't they? Games are kind of fun.